Hey everyone, here's the newest Cleric homebrew in Baldur's Gate 3. This is made by yours truly, the Lucky Clover domain Cleric. Just in time for St. Patrick's Day, this has luck and gold as the theme, focusing on the 3 green damage types that are a little neglected in Baldur's Gate 3, focusing on giving your targets gold so that we can burst them down with extra damage. This class also gets the ability to reduce your teammates' critical hit threshold so they're more likely to hit crits, and it's got attack roll spells like Lucky Shot here, which if you use it, it does 3 of the cold damage or green damage types there, and it gets the target drunk for 2 turns. Furthermore, most of the spells here will give the target gold, which we can then use on things like our Gilded Curse to deal additional damage. They have upcasted versions, which is going to give the targets more gold. You also can enrich your teammates while using this, and it comes with a few different summons and weapons that you can all find under this here, including a leprechaun there and a green squirrel. And funny enough, the little squirrel here will actually throw a beer bottle at you, and it has really funny animation. So yeah, this is the first mod that a squirrel can get you drunk. And my mod does have full level 20 support with upcastable spells all the way to level 9. However, I will be, for this video, just focusing on the first 12 levels, and we'll do one on St. Patrick's Day of the final 12 or 20. Now, for our first level, we get Lucky Shot here, which does a 1d4 of acid, poison, necrotic damage. The target will receive 10 gold, and it comes drunk for 2 turns. You can also use this on your teammates if you need a little more gold, but be mindful that they'll take damage. The gold numbers was something I played around a lot with this mod, but we also get Shillelagh or Shillelagh, depending on your pronunciation. This is the Irish, it's an Irish word, it just makes a lot of sense to include here. And we also get the Lucky Feat at the first level, so you can use luck points to get advantage on ability checks, attack rolls, or saving throws. And this mod has full support with any of the like Dawnstar spell packs or some of the other ones out there. Now, since we have a damaging cantrip, we don't really need to use other damaging ones. So I like to have resistance, guidance, and produce flame can be nice because you can give yourself a late source for until long rest, which is really useful. And it's also nice to have things like the blade ward cantrip. I'm actually going to take Thaumaturgy though for advantage on intimidation and performance checks. That's great as well if you're the face of the party. Now, our ability score spread, you can use the hags here. I would actually recommend a stat spread of something like this can work well. We can use Shillelagh too to be able to overtake and use like torches in the early game and clubs later or staffs later on, which I have one that's included with this class we'll get to. 16 dex, 14 constitution, 16 wisdom works well. You can swap dex and con. And upon hitting level 2, that's when we get our channel divinity Lucky Break. This is really good because it's going to reduce the critical hit threshold by 2 for 2 turns in a 7-meter radius. So you're more likely to be able to hit your teammates while using this, which is really nice. And yeah, that 7-meter radius is a little bit larger. You're going to see it before you cast it, so you can get an idea of who's going to be in it. And for our prepared spells, Guiding Bolt, Bless, Create or Destroy Water, Healing Word, and Sanctuary, although you can also swap out like Guiding Bolt for something like Command, which Command is probably the better choice there. Level 3, however, this is when we get our first spell for here, the Shamrock Spray. This is like a Scorching Ray, but it's poison damage, and it gives the targets gold per beam. So again, this is going to be set up for our later abilities, but we also get Piercing Poison, because let's just face it, poison damage is tough. There's a lot of things that resist it in this game, so being able to ignore those resistances is nice. Anything that's straight up immune to it, you can probably blast away with our other damage types. We also get to take a couple more spells here with things like Hold Person obviously being very powerful, and Spiritual Weapon. Level 4 gives us our first feat here and another cantrip choice. Nothing super dire. We can take Produce Flame. And our first feat, Alert, is always going to be a solid choice. You could go with a Wisdom improvement as well, or even a Warcaster to hold concentrations, because at level 5, Spirit Guardian's obviously very strong, but custom spell, Ray of Gold. Now, this was a fun one to put together. You actually do a little coin beam that you blast out at targets, fires a beam of coins, adding 30 gold to the target's inventory. This will get upcasted, so at level 4, it does 40, all the way up to level 9 spelled, adding 90 gold to their pocket. You also will gain gold depending on the target's hit. Now, this is something I was testing for a very long time. It's not accurate. Like sometimes you get the entire amount of gold that you hit it. Like let's say you hit 5 targets and you gave them 50 gold. You get 250 gold sometimes. Other times it's not that, and you actually don't get that much amount of gold. So it was a hard thing to actually accurately tell how much gold. So I just said you gain some gold. You sometimes will get the amount that you damage. Sometimes you get less. What a fun thing to test. This is actually a nightmare to put together. I spent many very, very late nights until 4 a.m. getting this to work properly, but we're here and it's working. But our spell selection, level 5. Spirit Guardians, it's one of the best spells in the game. This is actually, it's tough. I gave melee to this class, and a melee character with Spirit Guardians is always going to be a nightmare. The Crown Paladin, very strong for that reason. Level 6 though, this gives us another subclass feature, the Emerald Blade. This allows you to ignore resistances to necrotic damage. So you can now use, if you wanted, Spirit Guardian's necrotic, and you're going to be functioning kind of like a Death Cleric. I just think this is nice because those damage types just suck. So this opens things up for builds. We also get Conjure Luck. So you roll a d20 that is always a critical success, which lets you summon in a summon or a weapon for free. And you can actually summon in multiple of the weapons. The description for this, I was trying to think of something funny because I'm combining both animals and weapons into that, but you can use that, and the weapons will be at the end with a blue icon there. Now, we're also going to throw in Mass Healing Word. You can also use Dawnstar's arcane spells here for some extra fun with fireworks. Don't think anyone really uses fireworks for St. Patty's Day, but hey, we get our extra attack at level 7. So this was the only way I can make this fun to use. The Gilded Curse here will deal additional damage equal to the proficiency bonus per 100 gold the target has. This is something I played around with a lot. I started with 30 gold pieces. I increased the gold that the spells would give. There was a hard balance for me to find between making you get a lot of gold and making the enemies get dropped quickly from the spell. So in the end, I settled with 100 gold to give that extra damage. Beam, I'm just going to warn you right now, if you're going to reverse pickpocket gold into the enemy, this is a little stronger than the cheese weapon that's in the game, the Twist of Fortune. So you can already do this in the game if you really wanted to. I wanted to use this as a mechanic, and it has really cool VFX. So just be mindful, if you reverse pickpocket, that's on you. You're doing that on purpose to kind of cheese it. So I don't want to hear any comments saying that this is overpowered. I want it to be fun. It's something that's not well utilized in the game because exactly that. A lot of people just reverse pickpocket like infinite gold and then one-shot the targets. You've been warned, I guess, in that sense. I really just wanted to make that a fun ability. So if you don't like it, just drag it off the hotbar. I also gave the Divine Strike Poison, similar to the Trickery Domain Cleric, because I don't think anyone makes it to this point and keeps their Trickery Domain. So adding poison damage onto melee or ranged attacks, I just thought this was fun, adding in a melee component to this build, and it's green damage types. We also have a staff that does green damage types. This also gives us the Blade spell. I think this is another one. It's kind of similar to the Death Domain where it doesn't get a whole lot of love, so wanted to throw it on there. And we'll also prepare Death Ward. At this point, our feat will be to increase our wisdom there, making us more wise, better spell casting. Level 9 gives us a fun spell here, Clover Burst. Now, I was going to make Upcast for this, but the way that I made this spell, Upcast became really powerful really quickly, so I ended up removing them because it does a 4d4 of all those damage types here. One little pro tip, this is great for breaking concentrations because it's going to do multiple damage attacks, so that's something to keep in mind. It calls forth a Storm of Clovers to deal damage. It's like, it does a tiny bit more damage than the Flame Strike, which does the 10 to 60. This does 16 to 64, so slight bit more, but the damage types, fire versus these here. I kept the Radiant though for any type of Radiant Orb build fans. Now our next spell, Insect Plague, can be okay, or Mass Cure Wounds. Insect Plague is nice because it's a crowd control option, but it does require concentration. But one of our weapons gives us extra poison damage when we do hold a concentration. So level 10 gives us our Divine Interventions. Now, just one heads up, if you use your Divine Intervention, you may have some issues with summoning in some of the weapons. Just a heads up on that. So the weapons will last until, the weapons are permanent, so you can continually keep summoning them in. They have 1 gold cost, so they're not going to be, something you can spam summon and then use endlessly. Actually, no, I'm pretty sure never mind. Scrap that. I changed that so it did work properly. That was a very late night that I spent making that work proper, but I guess our next spell, Planar Binding, sometimes can be nice to be able to take over an otherworldly being. Now, this is one thing that's tricky, is the Cleric is extremely strong once it gets access to Planar Ally. I mean, Cleric's always really strong, but Planar Ally, Genie, it's really good. We also can get things like Heal for a unique interaction with the Dark Urge. Hero's Feast, although if you're running my Pizza Chef Monk, they also get a version of this that uses key points. But this also lets you use Cloud Kill and your whole team can camp in the Cloud Kill. We're going to go with, I guess, Hero's Feast. We like a good feast on St. Patty's Day. And level 12, our subclass feature is the improved critical hit there, which gives you an increased crit chance. This is also something that you're going to get as you continue to level up. Again, all the way up to level 20, you can get a even more critical hit chance, and we get upcasted spells to higher levels too. So I didn't do anything unique at higher levels. It's kind of hard to, with a mod like this, without making anything super overpowered. So just upcastable spells that are unique to this class. For our final one, I guess we can throw on the Heal. Create Undead is really good too. And our final feat, hey, Wisdom increase. The you can go with the Warcaster if you want to. We already got Lucky built in. I love that feat. So yeah, Lucky Clover. And the outfit mod is Cadenza Oscura by Barry Semifreddo, and I have the Heavy Hood Mantle, or Lynn's Cloak Pack 2. So the Fortune Binder Staff here is one that's included with this. It does a 1d8 of poison damage and a 1d4 of necrotic. It gives Mistress Blessing, which I love. Bless will give an additional 1d4 to saving throws and weapon attack rolls, and a 2d4 to spell attack rolls. So this staff at the start of the game that kind of gets neglected a bit later on is now repurposed into this. And I love that it has the Shelter of a Catholic glowing wings here. That was a lot of fun putting together the effects on. I know it's not the super vibrant green like the other ones, but it was the best I could do with the effects I could find. We also do have, if you look into the Conjure Luck here, we have all our different summons. So that's where you can find the Leprechaun that you can summon in here. And it's just a red cap. I call him the Lucky Green Cap. I don't want to call him an actual Leprechaun, but you're able to find Fortune Binder Staff right here, as well as the Lucky Star, which is our mace style weapon that we got for this class. So with this, it also has full weapon proficiencies. So, I mean, we got this here doing a 1d8 of poison and necrotic. I was going to leave it as piercing damage, but I just found poison just worked fun because we're ignoring resistances. But you get Twist of Fortune. When you roll 2 or less with the damage die, you re-roll it, take the new result, and when concentrating, your melee weapons will deal an additional 1d4 of poison. This is also something we can do a little bit of a silly combination with. I really like dual wielding weapons because I just think it looks awesome to be able to do that. So with this, you can summon in a second copy and you can actually dual wield them. So hey, if you ever wanted to do a silly dual wield, and I'm using a mod here that puts me on the hips, I think it looks really sweet. And with this, if you put it in your offhand, it gives a +2 to your armor class, so it's like you're using a shield. Now, if you really want to min-max, Luminous Armor from Act 1 will be best. I'm just going to throw in the Armor Persistence here because I like the look with the green dye, but Luminous Armor will be the best. I just don't want to be obnoxious and spam that on every single Cleric build ever because it's really good, and I enabled builds to be able to use that. That's why I made it so that the Clover Burst here still does some radiant damage, and then we also have like the Ray of Gold. Now, I just want to quickly mention this. It has a skinnier beam than like a Lightning Bolt type spell, and I love the VFX on it, so just take a look here whenever you pop that gold out, and oh geez, yeah, we got a pretty cool thing. So you can see all the gold pieces that are flying out of it. I had a lot of fun putting something like this together, and yeah, that is a lot of gold in the air. Now, I do have the Luminous gloves on for a little bit of Radiating Orb action with the Boots of Stormy Clamor because that will trigger these. And I also get the Hood of the Weave for +2 to our spell save DC and the Cloak Protection for better armor class. Again, Luminous Armor probably the best choice. Coruscation Ring for more Radiating Orbs and an additional 2 points of radiant damage with the Callous Glow Ring. Amulet of Greater Health, although in the early game, actually in the later game, the Amulet of Devout is probably best to give ourselves even more critical hit chance. A Hellrider Longbow for the +3 to our initiative rolls. I'm going to roll with the dual Lucky Stars. I just love how this looks. I love the animations while holding these 2 Morning Stars. It looks so cool. There's no way you can do this normally in the base game, so that's why my builds are kind of here so that we can open up different possibilities. Now, typically, having Spirit Guardians precast before you get into combat is most optimal. I'm not going to use that. Everybody knows how to click buttons on that. I'm going to go with some of the unique spells that I made for this. Now, something like Ray of Gold, I made interesting. So it has a normal radius of 35 meters, 40 at a level 4 spell slot, 45 at a level 5 spell slot, and 50 meters when you hit level 6 here. So you can hit it even further, which is nice because we're able to hit, let's see if we can get as many targets as possible. It's a skinnier beam, so you have to be a little bit cautious with it, but yeah, counterspell. Let's try that again here. So the big beam of coins there, it's going to give them all coins, which we can then use. And you can also loot the coins off of them. But the best part is then that lets us use our Gilded Curse to do extra damage. Now that was not an attack roll, so I did not need to use my other abilities here. But Lucky Break is really nice because this is our 7 meter radius. I wanted to make it so it's usable because normally those 3 meter radiuses are really small. But 7 meters, 7's a lucky number. That's going to give this cool little green effect on your characters. Then they get the Lucky Break there to increase their critical hit chance. One of the best parts about Divine Strike is we can opportunity attack with it. So that gave us a little extra poison damage, which also gave us a little extra radiant damage here. And we have our Lucky, which we get at level 1. So we missed our attack, but we can turn into a hit there and got that damage again. And for those that don't use the Lucky feat, it's really fun because you can sometimes turn attacks into misses. Ooh, that sucks. Now our summons can use the Lucky Shot here for a little bit of damage. I put it, this is a special attack that red caps get. The VFX is amazing on it. It gives him a kick with pushback and he does a backflip off of them. It's so cool. So yeah, you can use him for that. This is like almost the ideal time for us to pop Spirit Guardians, but I want to stay committed to using the new spells that are included with this. I guess I could do a little, I'll eat the opportunity attacks. It's fine. It's worth it to take 25 to hit, of course. Yeah, we'll take those hits. That's fine. We want to be able to hit as many as we can with Ray of Gold. Ray of Gold is kind of our best damage because it's a long range radiant damage attack, kind of like Lightning Bolt again, which you can see there. We can sometimes get really lucky with hitting a few different targets and applying the radiating orbs. If I had the Luminous Armor, they would have been filled with rat orbs there. But I guess our next thing to do is we can either use like the Clover Burst, I probably should have used Clover Burst there, or a Shamrock Spray. Now Shamrock Spray is great because we can hit multiple targets at a time with this, so yeah, we'll blast away just like this and try to take out that one. Boom, we were able to get some Radiating Orbs off on him too. Nice, so that's going to protect our team. We took out one target there, and I do have a bonus action I could use on an offhand attack or a heal. This actually has a pretty fun use for its bonus action. It's not going to be the most amount of damage, but hey, we got the kill. Love the offhand attack with these. I guess it's a good proof for anyone that might think it might be overpowered. I have two teammates that just went down here. It's not that powerful. So we're kind of in a pickle here because I'm ensnared, so I can't do my usual shenanigans to run around and hit multiple targets with a Ray of Gold. My summon went down. We do have Command, which is a good spell to use here, and you could actually use the Band of the Mystic Scoundrel on this build. I should have mentioned that because you can do it. You can even attack here and then get that activated. Gilded Curse is going to consume the gold that the targets have. I'm going to go, oh, that's 1 damage. I didn't need to use that, but yeah, it didn't end up even doing that much damage. So that's one thing to keep in mind with this, but we're in a tough situation. So I'm going to try and spread debuffs. Arrow of Many Targets with the setup of gear. We can actually apply Radiating Orbs, and the Divine Strike critical here. What's great about that, if we had the Radiating Luminous Armor here, I could have applied multiple on these targets so they were much less likely to hit our team. I didn't start off with Spirit Guardians to really take advantage of this, but I'm in a tough situation, so I'm just going to blast away with our Clover Burst here, which does a lot of damage there. Yeah, that took them all out. Actually, luck looks like it's tied here. If I had another, yeah, I'm just going to use my offhand attack. Not very likely to get a critical hit off on this to finish them off. Yeah, we're likely to miss. And here's the situation, if I had the Luminous Armor on, it could actually be really good because the Luminous Armor is crazy on a setup like this. We were able to take out those two targets, perfect, and there's just 2 left. So again, extra attack is really nice. This isn't going to do a crazy amount of damage. It did a little, and we got the Divine Strike Poison off to do a little bit more. Can I get an encore? Yeah, I'm going to use Lucky Rig. Give us that extra critical hit chance, which will be nice. Maybe I'll get the finisher here. Yeah, we got it. I'll try to finish this guy off with our Lucky Shot cantrip because it does actually respectable amounts of damage. Boom, we got the crit off. That's what we needed. That is amazing. So that was actually, like, it wasn't even a crazy amount of damage. It was just enough to finish him off with Call the Weak. So that was perfect. The crit on that was exceptional. So that is the Lucky Clover domain Cleric in Baldur's Gate 3, made by myself. Now, I'm working on a couple more subclass mods on the way, so let me know what you'd like to see in Baldur's Gate 3. Hit the subscribe button below if you enjoyed, and we'll catch you all in the next video.